This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Hey, basketball fans, I'm George Sedano on the latest NBA Lockdown podcast. Amin Al-Hassan, Kevin Pelton, and I discuss Steph Curry's big night, James Harden's role, and Dwayne Wade's return to Miami.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Obviously, Richard Sherman's offsides. He just plows into Carpenter.
I want to block the kick. I'm not going to let him make a kick.
That was roughing the kicker. It should have been a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous play. So I had some words.
I just wish he coached his own team.
The college football playoff rankings were released last night.
The top 5 all control their own destiny.
Nothing in the world better than investing everything into something that means absolutely nothing. And so that's what we're doing here this morning.
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
Here we are, Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Our next guest will be Craig Sager, whose new book is available now. And we will talk with him about that when he joins us in just a moment. Has been an omnipresent figure on the sports scene for a really, really long time. And most everyone is aware of his battle with cancer and the extraordinarily optimistic and positive and inspirational way that he has fought that. So we look forward to chatting with him. And I will say again, as we said in the open of the show, we've been sitting in these chairs, even though the chairs have changed, for 16 years, spending our mornings with you and you honoring us by spending your mornings with us on ESPN Radio and more recently as well on TV on ESPN2. And if you're doing it, we assume it's because you want to come here and hear us talk about sports, and so that's what we're doing today. We've been here now through multiple presidential elections and all sorts of other significant and impactful days, and we'll continue to be here. And I think that perhaps it's comforting for people in times where everything seems to be changing all the time to know that, hey, you know what? Those two idiots are still sitting there and they're arguing over whether Alabama's going to get into the college football championship. If that makes you feel good, then we feel good about it.
You know what? And we certainly don't talk politics here, but I will say this because we sat through 4 elections, and this one, without a doubt, was the most
divisive.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one. So whether you wanted Hillary to win or Trump to win, here's my thought. Donald Trump won. He's the president. Congratulations to him. We live in the greatest country in the world. I hope we can all find a way, even though that those that may not like him or may not like her, but now he's going to be president, that we can all work together and continue to be the greatest country in the world. That's the only thing I'll say. Not political, who I voted for or anything like that. I'd say the same thing if Hillary was elected, because there's a lot of contentiousness going on that at the end of the day, understand where we live and what a great place it is to live, and hopefully everybody can come together to continue to make it the great place that it is to live.
It's a reasonable thought. Reason is not always in obvious supply in our country and in our world today. I don't think that this is unique to here. People are passionate about things, and as I've said many times, usually reason is the first casualty of emotion. And so people are feeling very emotional in many cases this morning, and that's understandable, and it is what it is. We all live in our own little individual world, in our own little individual America, whatever it is that we choose to make that, and we have the freedom to do that, and so you're correct. So whatever the case may be, we hope that one of the things that we can be for you here, again, is a place to be entertained, a place to be a little bit informed about things that are fun. As Craig Sager said in his speech at the ESPYs, you live a life filled with fun.
Right.
And sports are meant to be fun. Sometimes we get boggled up in the less fun parts of them.
We do.
But let's try and celebrate some of the fun parts.
And then sometimes we have fun talking about sports and or what we like for breakfast, which is a good thing.
And we'll get back to those.
We're going to get back to that.
Right now we have someone with us who, again, made that speech and who has been inspiring so many of us for many years. A Northwestern guy who has been, and as I mentioned, omnipresent on the sports scene for a long time, and his new book is available. It is called Living Out Loud, Sports, Cancer, and the Things Worth Fighting For. It's on sale now, and the author is our friend Craig Sager. Good morning, Craig. How are you feeling this morning?
Well, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Woke up. All of a sudden, I felt like I dreamed that Donald Trump won the election. It suddenly comes to me that wasn't a dream.
No, it was
not. Wow. It was actually compelling television, to be honest with you. just to have such an upset and such a monumental breakthrough or decision in our political system, to watch history being made. I mean, it was a lot of lessons could be learned from that election and from everything that went through. I mean, I just think that perhaps he outworked her at the end there the last couple of weeks, and he was going to 6 states a day, and she kind of figured she had it won. But it was something else, and I don't know how you guys get up this early every day, but congratulations.
Well, thank you, and obviously we're very much looking forward to reading the book, and so many people who have been watching you for so many years have been so inspired by the enthusiasm, the positivity that you have shown through this time, where obviously so many people would have approached it differently. Where does that come from, Craig? Where have you found that ability to maintain this extraordinarily enthusiastic positivity that you've radiated, it seems, from the very beginning of this?
Well, that's something that I really didn't know too much about when we started writing the book. Why I am like I am. To me, that's the way everybody should live. You should be positive, you should be optimistic. And I never wanted to be associated with those people who weren't. And through writing the book and going through answering questions from Brian Curtis about, why I'm a certain way and stuff like that, whatever I came down to was that my mom was a very optimistic person. She tried everything. My dad made some comment one time about her smarts, and so she went out and started taking flying lessons and learned how to pilot an airplane. Took it out and flew over Florida, came back, put it away, and never flew again, but just proved her point to my dad. And I grew up outside Chicago idolizing Ernie Banks, and his motto, of course, was let's play two. I never, as a kid, or even as an adult, heard him complain about anything. All he wanted to do is play another game. He was my idol and kind of I molded my attitude after. And I don't know, I think it's a much better way to live. Because when somebody tells you only got a couple of weeks to live, you don't know how you're going to react. I mean, are you going to, just say, okay, that's it? You take your life savings and you go on a, worldwide vacation, you spend it all, and you get ready to say goodbye, or you say, that's bullshit, and I'm going to beat this thing. And I took the latter approach, and it's really helped me through everything I've gone through. And I have gone through a lot. And once I found out that, my story and my journey has impacted people, which, I can't deny. When you're walking down the street and people come up to you and, say you're inspirational, or you're going to the hospital lobby and they come up and say, we're here because we heard your story and you're here and we want to go to the best place where you were. It's pretty impactful. And if telling my story helps just a few folks looking for some raw deal we call cancer, and pretty worth it.
It has been incredible how you have helped people, and when you open up in a book, there's obviously that side of it, and then there's another side as well. What was the hardest thing for you to open up about and write in this book?
Well, I think it was in the beginning doing the book. I didn't want to live through it. People had talked to me before about writing a book, and I said no. I said, when this is over, it's over. I don't want to rehash everything because it has been painful. It has been stressful. It's been a burden. I wouldn't wish it on anybody or anybody's family. And so I've been, basically pushing back. But when Brian came to us and approached us with a different idea, and he wanted to get Craig Jr. involved, and had a chance for him to go further with his career and his writing. I saw a great opportunity for Craig to do that. And also when you're in the hospital for 85 straight days like I was over 12 weeks, you get tired of looking at four walls. And I wanted to be productive. And so once we got started and started, writing about Batavia, where I grew up, and started writing about my family and my kids and all, that part was much easier. And I had written the speech for the ESPY first, and that was really difficult. I started writing that during the playoffs, and I'd be in an airplane going from one city to the next, and I'd start writing that speech, and right in the middle of the flight, I'd be by myself in a chair, and I'd start crying. And I go, oh, God, I can't do this. I can't get up on that stage and, start bawling. I got to change my approach. And so I tried to be more optimistic. And I think once we got going, then I kind of made it, a lot easier. But I think the beginning part was something that was quite difficult. And then you had to figure out how to start the book. And I said, normally when I talk about the leukemia, I mention, going from locker room to locker room and during that series, and all of a sudden running into a brick wall and not feeling like my body was attached. And I said, I really don't want to begin the book like that. That's negative, and that's not me. So I think June 1st, when I threw out the first pitch at the Cubs game, that was like one of the greatest days of my life. I had everybody there, all 5 kids, a lot of other relatives, Northwestern fraternity buddies, friends from Batavia, friends from Georgia. I had like 46 people, I think, that came with me. And that was just a great, great, great day. And the Cubs won, and so I think I'll start with the Cubs. And so fortunately for me, it turned out that because we went to print before the playoffs, and the Cubs did a great job and, obviously won it all. So that made the decision look that much better. So it was a few tough things. I don't think I could have done it, without Ryan steering me and putting me in the right direction and trying to put some semblance or putting this crossword puzzle together with my son-in-law and how to put his thoughts in. So once you get going, then it was not easy because there's a lot of, long hours and a lot of different things you had to talk about. But that was the hardest part, I think, just getting started.
And the Cubs give you a World Series championship to celebrate and pay off that $1,000 bet that you've been making every year going back for such a long time. We know that you have to run. The book is called Living Out Loud, Sports, Cancer, and the Things Worth Fighting For. The author is our friend and the inspiration, Craig Sager. And, Craig, we're very much looking forward to speaking to you again down the road real soon. Thanks so much, and best of luck with the book.
Thanks, Craig.
Hey, Greenie.
Yeah.
That was 7-1 odds in the Bahamas.
Attaboy. So, I mean, all these years, your son said you've been making this bet all these years. It finally paid off for you. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
You guys.
Take care. Be well. That's Craig Sager, whom we, as I say, we look forward to talking to again.
Absolutely right.
Sometime soon. The book is available now, and I will definitely get it. I will confess I don't have a copy of it now, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to read it. I'm really looking forward to that. Craig Sager on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Let me take that conversation into what I think is an interesting direction. And it's a little deep, but I think it's worth doing because of what he said. I, as you know, Mike, do not think that way, right? You've got a lot of people who have a naturally optimistic view, and I don't mean this to be humorous now. Yeah. That's not the way my mind works.
I know. Yeah.
And if there's one thing that I've learned a lot of really important things in the last 10 or 15 years in reading a lot of books and in going through therapy and stuff like that. And one of the things that I've learned, and I do think it has helped, and if anyone is listening right now who might be in this same position, I think this may be worth hearing if it helps you from someone who sits where I sit. There's a lot of belief now that you can retrain your mind. Not totally. You can't necessarily go from a person who is just extraordinarily depressed and views the world through a very, very dark lens, and all of a sudden one day wake up and be Craig Sager. But you can incrementally and slowly change your mind, the way your mind works, the way it operates. There's chemicals in there, and you can actually do it. I don't even mean with drugs. I mean with the way you think and train yourself to think. And it has actually helped me, and I think that's fascinating. So for many people who are listening to the conversation thinking, well, Craig Sager is talking about something, that is just you're born with. You're either born optimistic or you're born pessimistic. Yes, you are born one of those two things. You can actually make yourself a little bit more optimistic. And I think that's an important thing I've learned, and it might help other people to know.
Well, you look at Craig being so out front with it, and it's everybody's personal choice of how they want to battle something like that. If you want to keep it private, that's absolutely your own choice to do. And there's no wrong or right in this. And Craig Sager chose at some point, when you're going through it, and I'm going to bring up an example, you have to make, either you make it or through help of your family, which is going to be part of my point, to that this could be a good thing and you can help others, and then you buy into that and do it. And the person I bring up is Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
Jim said on this show, and he said at other places, he didn't want this public at first. He didn't want this out there. There's part of you that, for whatever reason, you want to keep it to yourself. Maybe you don't want to let people know that this is happening, or for whatever the reason. And he talked about his wife basically saying or making him realize people you can help, because so many people are, like you and look up to you, that you can use this as an opportunity. And listen, if he'd have chosen not to, that certainly would have been his choice and should not be criticized either way. But that's one where maybe you don't want that, but there's somebody in your family, in this case his wife, who really said, you can do good here. And Jim saw that, bought into it, and then has been an inspiration to a lot of people. So sometimes it's not just you, the person. Eventually you have to, but it can be your support group as well. The people around you that maybe give you that nudge that you need to put you over the top to help.
Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance, our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Further, in the case of someone like Craig Sager, I think, and again, I'll read the book, and you heard a little bit of it in the conversation here, and he had limited time, as I believe he's doing several interviews today. I think that his primary motivation was, I like what I do, and I don't want to stop doing it. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. Like cancer sometimes can sort of set itself up in your life like a house guest that won't leave. I just sort of walk in and be like, here I am. You have to deal with me now. You got to stop everything you're doing and deal with me. And then Craig is saying, and you heard him use the word, actually you probably didn't because I'm sure we dumped it. Yeah. But I think he said, bull feathers, I'm not doing that. I'll do what I have to do. I mean, right now, I believe he's going through treatment still twice a week.
Yes, twice a week.
But the rest of the time, he's like, I'm living my life.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I'd love to think that I would have that kind of approach were I in his circumstance.
You'd love to, but you don't
never know.
Nobody knows unless, and you don't ever want to be in that situation, but, you don't have a choice. So when you're in that situation, it's your own personal choice on how you deal with it. And, living out loud, certainly the one thing about Craig Sager, you see him coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask him that, because all these years I've never asked him. I'm sure he's addressed it a million times, and I'm sure it's in the book, and I'm not sure why I've never quite gotten it. What was the initial inspiration for the outlandish
crazy look?
Wardrobe?
Yeah.
It's now become his signature,
right?
And it's actually
you're expected to see it.
It's so outrageously uncool that it's become cool,
right?
But it wasn't always. It was obviously something that at one time people made fun of.
Sure.
I've never really asked him what where that sort of originally came from.
Yeah, because like I said, made fun of, and now if you didn't see him in something like that, you'd be bummed. You'd be like, oh, of course. Wait a minute, come on.
And they've got the T-shirts that they're selling and raising money and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
absolutely.
And here's the truest sense of it, because I don't know Craig Sager well. We've met him on a small handful of occasions. I don't know him well. But when you see the way the community of people around him, and I'm talking about his colleagues now,
right,
have reacted to this with a genuineness that is unmistakable, right? Like that, no one is just doing that because it's what you do. You can just see it. You can tell the difference. You can feel how much people genuinely care about that guy. Charles Barkley not only wrote the foreword to the book, but we've all seen the story that he was basically told, Charles, I forget what he had. He was told not to travel. He had some sort of like a hip surgery or a knee surgery or something like that. But when he heard that Craig Sager was back in the hospital, he just defied doctor's orders and went there just to hang out with him. I mean, these guys love him.
Yeah,
they love him.
They do.
It
genuine.
shines through.
It's absolutely genuine. And by the way, I'm getting texts and tweets saying we didn't dump his word, so I'm glad we did. Somebody tweeted in.
You know what? I'm glad we didn't.
He said, when you're Craig Sager, you can say that word, blank, on live TV like a boss.
Good.
Absolutely right.
I'm glad.
Absolutely
Personally,
right.
I'm glad.
Yep.
I hope that there isn't some of price to be paid for that.
We're all going to be fine.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, exactly. There was no other word you could use to make the point he was making with the emphasis that he made it with.
Right.
Okay, Todd McShay will join us next. There's a question in the wake of the Alabama-LSU game that I've wanted to ask, and I've not had a chance all week long. I will get the chance to do it when McShay joins us live next. Be with us in just a moment on Mike and Mike, and that's after this word from Burger King. And Golic, I'll say it again. I don't even know how this is possible, but right now at Burger King, you can get 3 pancakes for just 89 cents.
Monster pancake fan, 3 hot, fluffy, golden pancakes for 89 cents. When is the last time you got a stack of anything for 89 cents? 3 pancakes, 89 cents. Great deal. You go from morning zombie to being the first one up. You'll see things you never saw before. It's an incredible deal. 3 pancakes, 89 cents. Only at Burger King. Limited time only. Price and participation vary. We're back after this on Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike, our Sports Center update.
You all right
I
there?
got sort of caught right near the mouth oatmeal.
You mean to do this?
I'm okay.
Good.
Washington has moved into the top 4 of the college football playoff ranking. The top 3 teams remain the same: Alabama, Clemson, and Michigan. Elsewhere, defending NBA champ Cleveland loses its first game of the season, falling to the Hawks 110-106. And yesterday, in the state of California, or in San Diego specifically, the Chargers Stadium ballot initiative failed, which opens the door now for the Chargers to once again pursue a move to Los Angeles. SportsCenter with Mike and Mike is brought to you by Campbell.
Think you're a fantasy football fan? Maybe it's time you were the one getting drafted. 6 NFL superstars are building fantasy teams of everyday guys just like you. It's the Everyman All-Star League fueled by Campbell's Chunky Soup. Get drafted at everymanleague.com. I'm
really thrilled to see how much people enjoyed the conversation with Craig Sager. It's very difficult not to be sort of moved and inspired by his spirit and the conversation. Again, his book is available now. I'm unquestionably going to go get it, and I look forward to reading that and talking with him. McShay, I'm told, is on his way in studio, and we'll have him in just a moment. I'll ask you the question first, and then I'll ask it to him when he gets here, because he is the draft dude. A year ago, right before the Alabama game, I think there was all this talk that Leonard Fournette was the best player in college football. He was going to run away with the Heisman. He was the best player that there was. And then he got absolutely stonewalled by Alabama. The next thing you know, not only doesn't he win the Heisman, Zeke Elliott winds up the 4th pick in the draft, and he's now setting the world on fire. There's a lot less talk about Leonard Fournette this year, maybe because they lost week 1. Now he gets completely stifled by Alabama again. What is Leonard Fournette as a pro relative to Zeke Elliott?
You know, he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield like Zeke does. That to me, the Zeke Elliott's of the world are the NFL, the Le'Veon Bell. You know, not so much the Leonard Fournette, the Todd Gurley, who, you know, he said, I don't want to carry the ball 30 times a game, which is fine. Carry it 22 and catch 6 passes. That, to me, is the running back of the NFL. Leonard Fournette, I'm not going to put him in the category of guy that's going to take a lot of hits. He's going to deliver a lot of hits, but it's really different from college to the NFL. He's going to take a ton of hits, but I think he's a little more elusive than we give him credit for to help him get away from some of those hits. I think he's a man amongst boys in college, except when you play that Alabama defense, when you have that picket defense there. But when you get into an NFL system, I think you have to be able to open it up a little bit. LSU tried to do that a bit. You saw them split him out some, get him the ball in space. I still like him. I think he needs to catch more balls coming in the NFL. You look at the top guy in the draft, could be Myles Garrett, the kid, the pass rusher from A&M. But we have Todd here. Why don't we ask him?
Let's ask him. Todd McShay's in studio at the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, half the cost. I fell in love with Zeke Elliott last year, and so far I look like I was right. Leonard Fournette, as I watch him play, and you're the draft expert, I'm not, he is so obviously a very different kind of player. What is he as a pro prospect relative to Elliott?
Good morning, guys.
Morning. Good morning.
Good to see you. I think he's a better pure runner. I think he brings more to the table in terms of size, power. He has that second gear, and he's really quick on his feet for a back with that size. Now, I think Zeke was more complete in terms of the passing game, and even as a run blocker, which you don't do much in the pros, but I think he was the best run blocking tailback I've ever evaluated, and that translates to his pass protection, and he catches the ball well. I thought that was underrated with Zeke coming out. I think Leonard Fournette does an okay job catching the football. They just don't feature him as much. So that's an area he's going to have to work on in terms of getting reps in practice and improving that area. But I think talent-wise, Fournette has a little bit more ability and maybe the best.
More ability.
Maybe the most talented pure runner, just with the ball in his hand on carries.
Agree with that
we've seen maybe since Adrian Peterson.
So is he a top 5 pick? I think Elliott went 4.
I think potentially, depending on teams drafting that high. And it's not just having a need at running back. It's having a commitment to running the football. And that's what Dallas had with that offensive line. And so that's what made it a possibility for Dallas to make that decision to take a running back over some great defensive players at that number 4
Have
spot.
to be a threat to catch the ball, though, in this NFL of today. And so they have to do that more with him going to the next level. And we know a draft is a lot of times built around a quarterback. Right now, your top 5 quarterbacks, the top-rated one, none of them are in the 90s.
Right.
The top-rated is 88, and we know the names of Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Kaiser and Brad Kaya. Introduce the nation, if they don't know, to Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback from North Carolina, who I'm sure if you're a college football fan, you know the guy, but if not, you're like, wait, who? What?
Well, I had to introduce myself to him, watching tape this past 2 weeks just to get caught up. He's played in almost, I think it was 19 games coming in, but basically all mop-up duty is redshirt freshman and sophomore years. This is his first year as a full-time starter. We're talking about 9 starts. And the offense he plays in is a little bit of that zone read and a lot of quick looks and screens and different things. But he does make some down-the-field throws and intermediate throws, and he's very accurate. He's mobile. He looks the part.
Good athlete,
6'3", 220. Yeah, he's got all the things you look for. I just worry. Yes, he may be the most talented, the best quarterback prospect of the eligible quarterbacks in college football, but I worry about the history of guys who just didn't get a lot of starts. If you don't have 23, 25 starts, and you go back and look over time, Mark Sanchez is a perfect example of someone who has the ability to succeed, but just didn't have the game reps to draw upon when he got to the league. So I don't care how high you're going to get drafted. I'm more worried about what are you going to do when you're put in and forced to play. And I think for Trubisky, coming back and getting more game reps is the right move. But you're right, this quarterback class, it's scary. Mm-hmm. You have to go back many years. I think it's 96. I'll have to double check, but I think it's 1996 since we had a first round without a quarterback. And right now, Trubisky, if he does go back to school, and he's not even a lock to be a first-rounder, but Deshaun Watson is not a first-round quarterback. If he's drafted there, it will be because a team is absolutely pressing for need. Same with Brad Kaya. Kaya doesn't have the big arm. It's hard to evaluate him behind that offensive line. He's accurate. He processes things quickly. Deshaun Kaiser from Notre Dame.
His stock dropped a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think a part of it is that offensive line has just gotten him killed. And Deshaun Kaiser has all the physical tools, very intelligent human being, but slow processing on the field, as you know, sometimes inconsistent with the accuracy and decisions. And Deshaun Watson is great as he is as a college player. You don't see a lot of the NFL-style throws from him, and when he does, he has not been accurate beyond 10 yards down the field. Not the type of accuracy you're looking for when evaluating a quarterback for the next level.
I have 2 pro quarterback questions for you. The first is a lot of the talk around the league right now is about Jared Goff not playing. We're seeing all these rookies going out there, and many of them having great success, and there's Goff, the number 1 pick that they gave up everything in the world to draft. They're not winning. Their quarterback isn't playing well, and they're still not playing him. going back to your evaluation, seeing where it is right now, I know a lot of people think this is an enormous red flag. Just how significant do you think it is that we are where we are in the season and they don't feel as ready to play?
Well, I think you kind of knew what you were getting with Goff, and that's part of the reason I liked Wentz a little bit more than Goff, and I gave Goff a first-round grade, so I'm not backing off of that at all. I think he has the ability. I think what L.A. is doing is smart. I think they see a young man who is – it's like learning a new language. I mean, that's why we've never seen a quarterback come from that, the Hal Mummy, Mike Leach, that style of offensive system, the air raid, if you will, that – to translate and have sustained success in the NFL. So this guy should be the outlier because he has physical tools that nobody else is playing in that system has ever had. But he's got to be able to process things a lot quicker and understand the verbiage and understand what is required of him. And you knew when you drafted him it was going to take a little while. And so clearly, they don't think he's ready yet mentally to go in there and to overcome all the obstacles that LA already has offensively. And B, they realize that they're not in a place where they can protect him and take care of him. So is it a red flag? Maybe to a certain degree. But to me, they're doing the right thing by keeping him off the field and not forcing him on and having him go out there and have a terrible experience, kind of like we saw from David Carr years ago.
Right. You have another quarterback?
Well, I was going to ask about Dak, but go ahead. I mean,
I'm shocked.
I'm just saying when you have.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Well, that's the other one. No, but all kidding aside, I mean, the whole league, drafted 3 rounds worth of players and didn't take him.
Yes.
So that's my point. So was this, now that we see what is going on, was this a function of everybody missing something, or what was it in the evaluation that created what is now, what might wind up, like it's only half a season.
Right.
But it's looking like one of the great steals we've ever seen.
No question. His intangibles were off the charts. He had that incident off the field, but he really, if you got to know him at all and the people around him, they just swore by him. His leadership, and he was the guy, had the it factor that you look for. Has the size, had the mobility, had enough arm strength. It just was the inconsistency with the accuracy. The system he came from, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a jump, but he clearly has picked up what they're doing in Dallas. And the coaching staff has done a great job of giving him the information, the way he can process it, and not overloading him mentally. I can't believe some of the throws he's making consistently, though. That's what we never saw from him on tape. And for him to come out, listen, he's protected as well as any quarterback probably in the league. And he has a run game that really keeps defenses off balance and really prevents them from focusing fully on the passing game. But when they need it, a high percentage of the time he's making these throws down the field, again, that we didn't see consistently on tape. So he's been the biggest surprise to me so far of this NFL season. It's not even close.
So looking ahead to, potential of the draft, it's not going to be a quarterback 1-2 this year.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. So, and I know Fournette is your number one player, but a running back is not going number one in the draft either. I would find that hard to believe.
Right.
So you start to look. Is it Myles Garrett? I mean, this kid, 6'5", the length he has turning the corner.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't even think who's a Cam Robinson, who's your top
offensive tackle.
But I don't think he's up there to be a number one pick.
No.
I mean, so where else do you go outside of that pass rusher? Sometimes you go corner, but Jabril Peppers is a safety, so I doubt that. So I'm just trying to think that top of the draft. It almost looks like Myles Garrett. You Jonathan Allen.
Jonathan Allen's another who's up there.
At D tackle, but that edge rusher, a lot of people don't want to turn that down. Do you see him as a guy that could be that first pick?
I think he easily could be because he has the versatility to be a 4-3 defensive end or 3-4 outside linebacker. Right. And he's just at a different level. Yeah. I mean, you meet with him and just see how big he carries 260-something like it's 220.
Yep.
And athletic, and he's gotten stronger. He bulked up to actually 270, I think is what he bulked up to, and hasn't lost any speed and is stronger versus the run. But it's a defensive-heavy draft again. I know the TV executives love it. There's no quarterbacks in the first round, a couple running backs. Mike Williams from Clemson is a good receiver. I think he has got a chance to be maybe a top 10, top 15 pick, but wide receiver's not overly deep. But you look at Myles Garrett, as you mentioned, Jonathan Allen, defensive lineman from Alabama, Jabril Peppers from Michigan's a safety, outside backer, probably going to be more of that nickel guy.
Right.
And then Reuben Foster from Alabama,
linebacker,
the linebacker. Yeah. Jamal Adams is another safety from LSU.
Not looking at that sexy draft with the quarterback, especially the quarterback.
7 of the top 10 right now, for me at least, are defensive players.
Yeah.
How about this Alabama D? I know,
and 4 last year went in the first 2 rounds.
From that defensive front.
They are. Let me just say, as a former player, forgetting even a defensive player, I appreciate so much their fundamental play, their ability to picket fence, their ability to use their hands. When you see them break down on a ball carrier, feet spread, square stance. I mean, they're not letting you get by. I so appreciate great fundamental football, and it is amazing.
I thought it was beautiful football the other day. I know everyone wants points and all that, but how about the three of the top 5 teams? Alabama loses 4 guys to the top, defensive front in the top 2 rounds. Ohio State lost 12 players, most of any school in the country, all in the first 4 rounds of the draft last year. And Clemson has lost 11 defensive players, 7 last year, and they still are ranked 8th nationally in defensive scoring. So the ability to reload for Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State is really impressive.
I just have 1 minute left here.
Yep.
I put an arrow up above and below the number 10 so it's easier for you to see.
Yep.
Each of the 2 years of the college football playoff, at least one team has come from outside the top 10 at this point in the process to get into the Final Four. If I told you one team is going to make it this year, Todd McShay, which one's it going to be?
Below 10.
Yeah.
Oklahoma has an outside they're all outside shot. Oklahoma, as a 2-loss team, they would have to finish really strong. North Carolina is kind of interesting, sitting there at 7-2 if they finish strong, and then they would have to obviously win the ACC championship game, and beat Clemson. I know Wisconsin's not below the top 10, but I think they have the best chance of the other teams, if you will, because they have a clear road. And Louisville sitting there hoping that Michigan and Alabama and Clemson just take care of business, and they just need 1 loss from Washington. I think Louisville's got a really good chance.
Any chance, real quick, your thought of Utah or Colorado if they face an undefeated Washington team in the Pac-12 championship, that a 2-loss conference champ team, Utah or Colorado, could get in? I'm just looking below top 10.
Yeah, we'd have to have a little bit of a mess.
Help,
which we've seen. I mean, we all are so locked in. Well, Alabama's going to run it, and Michigan. A lot of times they don't. And this is the time of year where we start to get those crazy upsets.
The reality is it hasn't happened before.
No.
So if they all do take care of business, it'll be the first time it ever happened. McShay, the best.
Thanks,
as always. We'll see you soon. We will take a short break, and we're back with much more on a Wednesday with Mike and Mike.
Start your day with Barbasol Shaving Cream, America's leader for a close, comfortable shave.
Mike and Mike, and a word now from Pennzoil. Pennzoil Synthetics with Pure Plus technology. Make this the time for performance. It's finally fall, and that means football. College football is all about showing passion and protecting your turf, and when it comes to protection, you can count on Pennzoil.
On Saturday morning, when you start pulling together tailgate supplies, you got bigger things to worry about than getting your car to the stadium. You paint your whole body, or just your face, whichever way you want to go. Give your car the protection and performance it deserves with Pennzoil Synthetics. Visit Pennzoil.com. Make the switch today. Save yourself $2 per quart on any qualifying Pennzoil purchase. See Pennzoil.com/rebate for more info.
1996, when the New York Jets made Keyshawn Johnson the first pick in the draft, was the last time there was a draft in which there were no quarterbacks that went in round 1. Todd McShay is projecting that could happen this year. So here's the question, Mike, and listen, I mean, the Cleveland Browns could very well go 0-16.
Right.
They feel like an extraordinarily good bet to have the first pick in the draft, and it does not appear there's going to be a quarterback sitting there for them to take. So I would ask, I understand the whole tanking philosophy, which they are doing, and I get it. I mean, just ask Theo Epstein how it works. But do you, for lack of a better word, do you think there's room for criticism? They didn't choose to take one of the quarterbacks last year.
No, they didn't.
And not having the foresight to see that maybe this is a year in which the guy you want isn't going to be sitting there.
Right. I think there were a lot of people last year that thought Deshaun Watson would be the clear-cut number 1 pick, and that has kind of gone by the wayside a bit. We'll see where that comes back. Because you know how it works, Greeny, is teams can't help themselves sometimes. You know, and they see a quarterback and they see him look good, they watch some tape, but then all of a sudden they see him shorts and a T-shirt, it looks great, and they're like, oh, my God. So let's see if they can hold off. Now, all the way to the top, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think they'll take that chance. So then, what
do they do about quarterback?
Well, I mean, you have Cody Kessler.
Is he the answer?
I don't know if he's the answer, but maybe he's the answer again for next year to see what you have going into the year after that. I mean, you're limited by availability. What are your other options? Who's a free agent quarterback going to be? I don't know that. And I don't know, are you going to trade for a quarterback, or are you just going to play Kessler, who you drafted, and see where that one goes and build your team now by keeping that pick and taking, like a Myles Garrett, taking a pass rusher, a guy, like that. I mean, and coupling him with Jamie Collins, who they brought in, and traded for from another really good athlete to be brought in with, if they take Garrett, another really good athlete. So, maybe that's where they choose to build right now.
And, they're typing up on my screen, the Titans traded the number 1 pick this year. The Browns could trade down. Here's the difference. There were quarterbacks sitting there that other teams wanted to go up and get. Look what happened to the top 2 picks. The Browns traded out of number 2.
Yeah.
So when there are quarterbacks sitting there, the best situation you can have is to be set at quarterback and have the number 1 pick in a year where there are quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The Titans got a king's ransom. And look, they're an improving team.
Yeah, it's difficult to do without that quarterback sitting there.
If there isn't a quarterback sitting there, are teams going to kill themselves to go up and get Leonard Fournette?
All depends.
Who are they going to get?
No, they're not going. I don't think Leonard's going number 1.
I get it, but he's the number 1. Isn't he the number 1 player on Todd's big board?
But it doesn't matter. He's not going number 1.
That's exactly my point.
My point is Myles Garrett is a number 1. So it depends on the team who's sitting at 2 or 3. Even if you fell back a spot, you could pick up some things as well. So if somebody really wanted a pass rusher, depending on who's picking 2, who's picking number 3, I think that's going to kind of be the guy you play around, because I don't think there's an O-lineman good enough to go at the top. I don't think there's a corner. Jabril Peppers is the top guy, and he's that nickel guy, that outside backer, that safety kind of hybrid kind of a guy. You have inside linebackers. They're not going number 1. So, you have Jonathan Allen, the D tackle. We've seen interior D linemen go number 1, but to me, it'd be more of a pass rusher. I think Garrett is going to be kind of that guy that everybody looks at as the number 1 guy in play.
Mike and Mike, our Sports Center, brought to you by AutoZone. We're giving you a chance to be on the road with us to the national championship game. Just be listening every weekday for your chance to win the Mike and Mike on the road to the college football playoff sweepstakes, presented by AutoZone. Visit mikesroadtothecfp.com for official rules. And I can see that when the show ends here in just a moment, we have some special visitors that we will be too honored to welcome to our studio, men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports Mike and Mike. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century. Forget about digging through stacks of paperwork. This completely online process lets you safely share your bank statements and pay stubs with a touch of a button. Using your phone or tablet, you can get approved for purchase or refinance in just a few minutes. Get a custom mortgage solution at your own pace, whenever and wherever you want. So if you're looking to refinance or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/Mikes.
Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Scott Burnside, ESPN.com here on the latest edition of Hockey Today, the podcast. We hear from Henrik Lundqvist of the New York Rangers. Trevor Daley of the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins stops by. And so does Charlie Coyle of the Minnesota Wild.
Red Hot USC heads to Seattle to face 5th-ranked Washington.
72 yards, the big play strike.
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.